First of all, welcome to COLLEARN, and I will let you know. So let me tell you a brief about what COLLEARN is. COLLEARN is a tech-enabled, community-based learning platform. What do? We provide micro courses on 21st century skills to learners across age group. So we provide courses on basically AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, drones, blockchain, public speaking, also composting, work-life balance, and things like that. Um, what is the aim of the company? The aim of the company is to nudge the learners at an early age in a very engaging, interactive, and exploratory environment. All the courses are live and taken by industry experts from across the globe. So that's about COLLEARN. Let me welcome Neerja Ganesh. She's an eminent personality. She's an authority in herself. People who are from Bangalore knows her very well. Just a brief introduction about her is she has 25 years of experience in corporate world, managing IT teams, delivering IT projects, and operational excellence and customer delight to very large banking sector clients. Um, in between, she decided to switch gears and she has dedicated her life to gender diversity. Currently, she is a freelance consultant and she works with uh, Karnataka Education Society, which has, National Education Society, which has 17 colleges under its umbrella. Uh, National College, as we all know, is one of them. Uh, she conducts training programs, workshops on leadership and behaviors. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Neerja Ganesh, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Srishti. And it's a pleasure to deliver my first webinar on this platform for this community. And I hope to do more of these in the coming days. And I welcome all the participants to today's session. I really am grateful that there have been people who've decided to take 2 hours of their prime time, when we could have otherwise slept or had some other important engagements that we could have done, to come and have a discussion. And that's how I would say I would like it to be an interactive session on work-life balance. So let's move on to, I'll switch off my video and I'll probably bring it on when we come to the Q&A session. That should be concerned. And I would request everyone else also to maybe, go off video and we can probably come on video when we come to the Q&A. That's the topic for today, work-life balance. And the reason I have put a star there is in the times of COVID-19. So I do sessions on work-life balance, a lot of times, and I've done it, for multiple audiences, but almost always the audience has been women and women who've been working, right? Today, we have a very diverse audience here. Srishti tells me that we have people who are working. Of course, there could be men, there could be women, there are housewives, there are students. So that's a really diverse community. So pardon me if my slides have pictures of women all through. I actually contemplated to kind of, change it and bring about, some other kinds of pictures also. But then I later thought that if a working woman can possibly take the tips that I'm suggesting and get a, so we are starting by calling it work-life balance, but by the time we end this session, we'll be calling it work-life integration. Then I think everyone around us can also, use the same tips. There will be examples which might be a lot from a woman's sphere, but I'm happy to take questions and examples if you wish in the kind of work that you do, or if you're a student, how do you do this in your life, etc. The reason I put in the times of COVID-19 is that work-life balance is not only required in today's time because of whatever is happening around us, but it is something that we need forever, right? So it is a very generic presentation. And I would like you, whenever I'm telling you to reflect on something or asking you questions or asking you to do some activity, to kind of think about it from a very generic, life that you are leading, not the kind of life that we today are leading because of certain restrictions on us. But given that we are having this conversation at this time, I'm also going to emphasize on how that particular aspect that I'm talking about or the tip that I'm giving can be used in today's, times which are under lockdown and under severe pressure and things like that. So that's the only thing I would request of you is please think of this as work-life balance in a very regular life and not only in today's life. So let's move on. To start with, I think I would ask all of you to do a small activity. Hopefully you have a pen and paper, or you can scribble on your own notepad on the system or things like that. The first activity that I would like you to do is to take a couple of minutes and write down, what does work-life balance mean for you? What are the current challenges you face to achieve a balance? And three, what have you tried to remove these challenges? And again, please don't think of it only from the situation that we are all in today, but in a general life that you had, if you are working or you were a housewife or if you're a student, then in that perspective, please try and answer these three questions. Don't take too much of time, because the fact that you have joined for the session, I think, you will have these answers quickly coming to you, but I'll give you about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll move on now with our rest of the session. So please go ahead.
Just one second, Neerja. I think people are saying
Yeah.
that voice is breaking. So, can we just, once you want to see the connection? I mean, uh, can we just ask once more? Okay, let me just ask everyone that is
Yeah.
the voice still breaking or it's fine now? I think it's fine.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
If there is an issue, then let me know.
It's
And
fine, ma'am. Most of them are saying fine. So
okay,
I think, wherever the voice is breaking, there is a problem in the internet at your end. I would suggest that you can just log out and log in again, and it would be okay.
and to conserve the bandwidth, as I said, please maybe you can get off the video, because all of us are trying to use the internet, and it is definitely really choked. So for yourself also, it will be great if you can just switch off the video, those of you who have video on, and of course you should be muted. So let's get back to the activity that I suggested. If it is, write down these three things for yourself, because one of the reasons I do this is because if we don't do it right now when we are in this session, and we have taken 2 hours out to do this session, at 5 o'clock, all of us have our own chores to go back to, and we'll probably never ever do this, never ever reflect on what we learned. So now is the right time. So please do this. I'll give another, and especially you can time it maybe 2 more minutes, and then you can kind of tell me and we can get Are we good?
Yes, so 2 minutes are over now, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. So I hope everyone has had, some reflection on what does work-life balance mean to you? What are the current challenges? And if you've ever tried to remove these challenges. So can I have a couple of, you sharing it with us on the chat window? Does someone want to share what work-life balance means for them and what are the current challenges that they are facing? And when I say current, please look at it from your holistic life. Anybody who wants to share. As I said, it has to be an interactive session. No point in me just giving you one big yarn, unless and until, I know that time management with work and family. Fantastic, Tasneem. Yes, that is definitely a challenge.
Ma'am, we also have Vidya, who's saying that she has messaged us privately,
Sure.
and she's saying that work-life balance means having enough time for family and for work and for self-learning too.
Oh, great. That's wonderful. Sure. Anybody else? I don't know whether Vidya is a student or, okay, I'm a passionate worker. Tasneem, wonderful.
Yeah. Ma'am, we have Rinku. She's
Uh-huh.
saying that spending equal time with family and being able to do something for self-development and having me time as well.
I'm so glad she brought out me time. Thank you, Rinko. So that's good. If more come, we will take it as we go. I think, wherever I've gone and asked these questions, so has there been, a particular challenge? So I get the definition. Has there been a particular challenge? And have you tried doing anything about it and it worked or it didn't work? So Tasneem says because she's a passionate worker, I'm assuming she's tending towards becoming a workaholic. So maybe that's why she's finding it difficult to give herself me time. Okay, that's great. That's the challenge that she is facing. Any specific challenges? Challenges is, okay, time management, Rico, yes. Time is what is finite. And have you ever tried to do anything about it? Tasneem, anything that you've tried to do to kind of overcome this? Time and energy management with the fantastic, of course. If anyone's tried something and it worked or didn't work, we'll be happy to know that also. When there are too many things in your priority list, it's hard. So that is Sneha. Sneha is my daughter and she is, attending this session from another laptop. Because that laptop is called Ninja, so that's why. Yes, it is very hard when you've got too many things in your priority list in terms of managing work, life, me time, everything else. Tried a lot, but end up doing everything else other than getting some me time. Okay. Delegated some home-related work. Sometimes it works. Sometimes even that does not seem enough. Wonderful. I'm so glad that, people have tried something about it. Self-care takes a backseat. And I'm generally thinking that all the people who have said this about not getting me time, self-care, and all of that are women. And tried talking to my daughter, but did not work so much, Tasneem. Tried talking to your daughter about what? Helping you out. So yeah, women definitely have this challenge more than men, but I'm sensing that things are changing a little. Maybe the COVID situation is, trying to change it a little. She is also not getting quality time. Okay, so she's also challenged. Okay. Now, thank you for that. I'm so glad. Let's get back to the definition of balance, right? What is a balance? What is the dictionary definition of balance? It says it's a situation in which different or opposite things are of equal importance. Okay, so in this case, we are talking work and life, and they're two different things, not necessarily opposite, but they are two different things, and we are trying to get both of them equal importance. And if you kind of picturize the balance, it means that on both the sides, you need to have equal amounts kept so that it kind of balances. And I think that is the biggest problem. There is And while the topic is work-life balance, I am going to say that there's nothing called this work-life balance. What we all need to understand is if you want to effectively do everything that we want to do, we have to start looking at a work-life integration. And that's what we probably understand through the course of this session, and how to kind of reach that state where we feel that our work and life and everything else, the me time, the self-care, is integrated in our life, and hence we feel it is moving seamlessly, at least to some extent. So here are my tips for them. The first one is, I'm trying to move ahead in this slideshow. Yeah. Set your priorities. And we did hear about, if you have too many priorities, then it becomes hard. But the first thing I'm saying is set your priorities. And you may ask, what's the big deal? All of us have our priorities in life, and we know what our priority 1 is and priority 2 is and priority 10 is. But believe me, if I were to sit you down and ask you, okay, tell me what is your priority number 1? I'm sure it's going to be a difficult question for you to answer, because you'll probably give me 3 things. I'm saying priority number 1, but you'll probably give me 3 things. And I'm saying, no. It is priority number 1, and hence there should be only one thing at priority number 1. At priority number 2, there should be only one thing, right? I don't think most of us would have done that kind of self-reflection to say, okay, fine, what are my top 1, 2, 3 priorities, which is only one thing at a time. One thing your priorities is absolutely important. And how do you go about setting your priorities? The question to answer is, if I could only focus on one thing in my life, what would it be? Right? So supposing I say for the next 1 month or 3 months or 6 months, 1 year, whatever is the time period for which you are setting this priority, you're reflecting and putting down your priority list. For that time period, if there was only one thing that you could do, I don't give you the, chance to do a second thing. What is that one thing that you would like to do, or to want to do, or you have to do? That becomes your priority 1. After you have written that down, then you say the same question again, saying that now you are allowed to do second thing. So what would that second thing be? And repeat this for 3 to 5 top priorities, not more than that. Of course, we could, have a wish list and we want to achieve 30 things in our life, or, I want to do 20 things, in 2020. But for the purpose of this, we want to identify the top 3 to 5 priorities, which you do by saying if there is only one thing, and what that one thing would be. And then you go on to doing the second thing and the third thing and so on. So I want you to again take 2 minutes and do this reflection and maybe write down one top priority. Ask the same question. If I could only focus on one thing in my life, what would it be? And see, I know it's not going to come very easily, but if you could, and again, I go back. The reason I say do it right now along with me is the minute this webinar is over, you will have 100 other things that will pop up because you've already planned your day, and hence you will not do this. But if you have started on this process during this webinar, then it will urge you that, okay, fine, let me complete the self-reflection. Let me take some time and probably at least identify the top 3, if not 5. So take 2 minutes, and Srishti, tell me when the 2 minutes is over. And I don't want anybody to share any of your priorities here, so don't worry, it's only for yourself.
Sure, ma'am. It's 3:25.
This is not going to be an easy exercise, and I will, tell that to you upfront, because I was trying to do this with my daughter Sneha a few days back. I sat her down and said, write down your priorities, and so she was, because she's in the 12th, and her last exams got pushed out because of this, and she's got 100 things that she wants to do. So she'll be attending online classes, she's preparing for entrance exams, and she is doing webinars, and she's a writer, so she wants to blog, she's picked up some internship to do, and God knows. And I see her completely busy from morning till night, and the day has gone by. So I sat her down and I said, okay, can we now sit and write down what are your top priorities? Because otherwise, it's just a life that is going by day after day after day. You're busy, but are you really achieving what you want to achieve? And it was a hard thing. It is hard. So I will move on. I hope that you kind of, gotten your, thought process tingling with this, and please go ahead after the webinar and complete this. This is absolutely important, and the reason I say you're setting your priorities is very important is a quick example. Supposing you had 5 things in your priority list, the first one being healthy me, second one being work, the third one being spending time with kids, the fourth one being giving nutritious food for the family, and fifth one being a clean house. And every morning you probably get half an hour which you kind of can, spend on some activity. And you're deciding whether you should be exercising and that half an hour, or you should be cleaning the house. Having this priority list will tell you that healthy me is your top priority, and cleaning the house is probably the 5th priority. So you will use that half an hour that you got in the morning to focus on your health aspect, which could be exercise. So the cleaning has got pushed to the afternoon or to the evening, right? Now you come in the evening, in a standard, world where we go to work and we come back home at 5 or 6 in the evening, and you say, okay, fine, there is cleaning that needs to be done, but there's also cooking that needs to be done for the family. Now what do? Again, when you look at your priority list, you know that nutritious food for your family comes above cleaning. So you would do that first. And after that, whatever time remains, you may clean. And if no time remains, you're not cleaning. Now, does that mean you do not clean your house? No, that's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is, this tells you that you would rather assign that job of cleaning the house to somebody else. Though because you want nutritious food for your family, you would rather cook that yourselves, and you can probably move and give away the cleaning of the house job to somebody else. Right? So this is how prioritization kind of helps in your decision making, and also gives you the space that is required to ensure that you're focusing your limited time to what is your top priority. Okay. So
yes, ma'am, we are
having done that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So having done that, I want to kind of ask you, how's your current mindset? Because you're going to tell me, as such, I'm so busy, and you're asking me to sit down, write priorities, priority lists, etc. Let me tell you, whenever a person frequently thinks and reflects on, that becomes the inclination of their mind. Buddha said this, or some really, good man said this. So try to make this a habit. It is going to be hard the first time, and this is not done once and forgotten, right? Priorities keep changing. It will probably change over a period of time. When circumstances change, priorities change. So you will have to keep redoing your priority lists, but it will become a way of life for you if you have the right mindset to say that this is what is going to enable me towards getting a good work-life integration. And with that, let me ask you the question of, what do we do during COVID-19 times? This is the picture in your house for most of the women who also have, the office work to be taken care of, but today you are at home and you may not have a maid coming in, and hence, you have all those vessels, you have the cooking, you have the cleaning, and you have, of course, a wailing baby to look at, and probably the dog and everything else, right? So this is the situation. So what do you do in the current COVID-19 times is that you relook at your priorities more frequently. You relook it probably on a weekly basis or even on a daily basis, okay? Now, I'll give you an example of why am I saying a daily basis. So ever since this has happened, our maid is not coming, right? Most of us, I've probably, just told the maids to stay safe and hence are not coming home. So we've taken on that additional responsibility of cleaning the house. So between me and my daughter Sneha, we've kind of, divided the chores, and I sweep and she mops, and it's kind of a big house. So we've decided that we will do a few rooms on one day and the other rooms on the second day. So in a week, we kind of, clean the house, we mop thrice, and we've decided to leave one day, off. So we kind of give ourselves a break from the sweeping and mopping. So this is the way it is, right? And we know which days we are sweeping and mopping. But this morning today was actually a day when we had to sweep and mop. But this morning got a bit busy and cranky because we suddenly have a vegetable vendor walking and we said, let's go buy some veggies. Last night it rained, so it was a little more dirty around the place. The garden had to be tended to. And a lot of other things came, because of which, and the fact that I was, prepping for this webinar, I had to do a little bit of rehearsal, which I always do before any session. I told Sneha, okay, in today's priority list, let's knock off sweeping and mopping. You can imagine how it would have been if I had continued to put that also, the additional pressure that I'm putting on myself. So I said, no, it's okay. If we don't sweep and mop today, it's okay. We are giving that a day off. Whichever day is supposed to be the day off from this activity, will probably take on that day. So that is why I'm saying it's a daily, in today's times, you will have to revisit your priority list on a daily basis to see, okay, what's required for the day, and chalk out your list of priorities. And please ensure you maintain a tracker to measure the progress. So, for example, today I said no sweeping, mopping. Tomorrow something comes up. The third day something comes up, and I say no to this activity. By the fourth day, you can imagine, how the house will be. So you should keep a tracker to see, are you progressing against all the list of priority items that you thought you will have. On the fourth day, I realized for some reason in my priority list, the sweeping and mopping is not happening. So I have to rejig my entire thing, pull off something else, so that I can bring in, the sweeping and mopping again into the picture. So that's why I'm saying, in today's times, in the COVID-19 times when things are very chaotic, please ensure you review your priority list on a daily time, on a daily basis, and have a tracker. But otherwise, in a general, kind of a life, you should revisit your priorities at some frequency, and that you should decide whether it is 3 months, 6 months, a year, or whatever it is. Okay. Now, that's my tip number 1. Moving on to tip number 2. Plan your days and weeks. What do I mean by that? You've got your list of priorities and you've said, I have to achieve these 5 things, 10 things, right? On a daily basis, so at the beginning of the week could be a Sunday or whatever, plan your day, which is, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, plan your week. And the reason I say plan your day and week is because you're not going to be doing everything which is there in your priority list every day. For example, when I was talking to Sneha, so there is a big ticket item in her priority list, which is, preparing for the entrance exam. And there is another big ticket item, which is about, learning a new technology. But there is also an item which says writing a blog, because she's a writer. Now, you may not necessarily write a blog every day, but if the priority is that during the summer break, you should have at least written 8 blogs. Then you should attempt to write 1 blog per week. So you should put that in your week's schedule. And you need to kind of ensure that you put everything related to both your professional as well as your personal stuff into this plan of your day and week. There are no 2 separate plans. That is when your balance, goes haywire. When there is only one plan, which is based on your priority list, which includes both the personal, professional, me time, everything, you have to put every big item and small item into your schedule. Those of us who are project managers know how to do that. And write out the item that you want to achieve and what is the time that is required for that, however big or small. Okay, ensure that you make use of your lunch breaks, you make use of your commute time. Of course, today we don't have commute time, but in a regular situation, you have an hour of commute, put some activity during that time. If you're saying that I'm not able to read the book, But today audiobooks are available. So use your commute time to, plug in, your audio and, read the book. So you have to put every small and big activity into your day and week's plan, at least day and week. Some people may even plan a month, a year, but minimum is a day and week, because then you are prepared. You know that this is something that is going to come on Thursday, and so you need to make time for it. And when you do this planning, ensure that you have a little bit of contingency, a buffer in every day. Don't cram the day with, okay, fine, 16 hours available and 8 hours of sleep. Maybe plan for 14 hours and keep 2 hours of buffer. Plan for 15 hours and keep 1 hour of buffer, because there will be emergencies that will happen. There will be unplanned things that will pop in. You can actually put it in that buffer. But if something comes up which is beyond that buffer time, then because you have a week's plan there, and you also know what your priorities are, you can easily pull out a particular item and put something in which is coming up as more urgent, and try to push this thing which you have pulled out from your plan into another day or the next week. And that you can do easily when you have your priority list very, very clear. Okay, so the other thing I would say is, the minute you start writing this to say this is the task and this is the amount of time it takes, you will realize that there are so many small tasks which probably should never be done, or you're spending too much of time on that, like WhatsApps, like Facebook, Instagram. You're calling people and you're talking, to people forever. And these are the things that you will have to start knocking out. Sorry, I just took a break to drink some water. These small things which are taking up too much time is what you have to knock out from your schedule, so that you make time for what is more important, what is your priority. The other thing that you need to do is that set boundaries. And I was just kind of referring to Pavitra Singh, who's the CHRO of PepsiCo India's Chief Human Resources Officer, and she's also mother to an and life separate. View them both as priorities instead. She adds appointments, both personal and professional, to her calendar, and based on the importance or urgency, she tends to each. So the reason I'm kind of quoting from very senior leaders here, and also putting the aspect that, there is a family also that they need to tend to, this works. And this is how they make it work. When I was talking about setting boundaries, when you have decided that, this is the time that you're going to spend with family, keep your phone away. Don't have distractions. Because the minute you start, taking phone calls, when you have called it as family time, then you know that you feel at the end of the day that you had no family time. And the kids and, the husband and everyone else is also, kind of telling you that, you're not spending time with them. So keep the phone away. If it is a very urgent call, you will see that, people will call you 10 times and hence you can call back. Otherwise, if it is people who usually call you, like, your parents may call you, or, some friend, and unless it is emergency, don't call me, right? So that is the way you kind of will be able to achieve a balance and integration, giving time and importance to every that you want. Questions relevant to prioritization and planning, I'm happy to take it. Otherwise, I will move on. I assume there are no questions. And the last thing I want to tell you is, once you've done the plan, please, you yourself should respect your schedule. Forget everybody else, right? There will be 100 people from the office, from home, who will come and say, hey, it's okay now, you keep this thing aside and you do this for me. But you should respect your schedule. Once you start respecting it, the rest of the world will follow. Easier said than done, but start doing it and you can see the results slowly. but definitely. So, how's your mindset? So this is what I would like you to do. Again, it's a very difficult activity to start with, and for those of us who are already struggling in terms of getting some time, you'll say, "Oh my God, you're now wanting me to write down a schedule." But the minute you start thinking of it as my awesome week, which is not how you feel the week to be now, you will give it some time and you'll start writing. And over a period of time, it just becomes a habit. And you may want to put it on your calendar, Google Calendar, you may want to put it on mobile calendar, or you may want to scribble it on a notepad, stick it somewhere, whichever way works for you. I put it on my Google Calendar because whenever anything I have to refer to, I'll check my Google Calendar, and Google Calendar will have everything, including, these days we are doing some Zoom calls with friends, with family. So I'm putting that also into it so that I can schedule the rest of the activities around it. So ensure that you do this planning and it is there where you can look at it. And if you want to make a change only because there is an emergency situation, you can easily, change it from this week to next week, or from Tuesday to Wednesday. It is not how you want to do it. The only thing I would say is overcome distraction. You will see that there are 10 items which are only by the way you're asking as much as possible, because that's not really going to benefit and your productivity is not going to be really high there. While they say women are awesome multitaskers, not necessarily gives us the best of the outputs. So as much as possible, avoid multitasking, and you can avoid it when you actually slot every activity into your week this way. And if there are similar tasks, then bundle them and block 2 hours of time, something of that sort, right? And that way you will ensure that all small tasks that you have get finished in one shot, and you can remove, take the focus off from that big chunk of work into something else. The other thing that happens, when, for example, if I go to attend that call, even if it's 5 minutes of call, it takes me 15 minutes to come back and put my focus back on this particular slide deck, because you've already gone away from your thought process is distracted. You've gone and spoken to somebody, and what they have said is now hanging in your head, and now you have to come back and forget all of that and bring it back to focusing on this particular activity. So avoid the distractions as much as possible. It's perfectly fine not to take phone calls, perfectly fine not to answer WhatsApps, when you are in the midst of some work, as long as you keep people informed that this is how you are going to work. And now coming to our COVID situation, this is how you all feel, especially the women, right? Where the kid is asking, why are you hiding in the laundry room? And she says, I'm working, I have a deadline. So, she's trying to sneak away from everybody. And then the kid says, I'm hungry. And she says, well, this is the situation. So what do we do in this situation today? Your plan has to change, just like your priorities change, right? So you are doing a daily priority list based in a real-time world, in a great, kind of, environment. You probably said that something that you will have to do in terms of prioritization and planning, and ensure that your family kind of understands it. And because at the end of the day, it's you who has to bear the brunt of it. So if you are not going to start changing your thought process, the rest of the world is not going to change. for you. So that's something that I would suggest, kind of help move away from the current situation. Any questions at this point in time, or can I move on? I'm not checking the chat. Srishti, if there's anything, let me know.
Ma'am, I got logged out.
Okay.
And the chat, somebody actually disappeared right now. So, if somebody has the question, they can either raise the hand or, put it again on the chat box, please.
How are we doing for time, Srishti?
Ma'am, we are on time. We are
Okay.
3:47 right now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So as discussed, we will open the forum and people can ask you questions one-on-one.
Sure. Okay. So I will move on to the next tip that I have.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Now we come to this beautiful thing called as me time, and this is required for everyone. But given that, in the past I've only spoken to working women, and somehow it's the women for whom the me time just disappears in their list of priorities. They feel the me time can be the last or need not even figure in the list. And when they have to remove something out of a daily schedule, the first thing that goes out is the me time. So what is me time? Me time is something that you like to do. And here is, a quote from Lavanya Nalli. For those of us in the South, we have heard of Nalli Silks. So she is the vice chairman of Nalli Silks, and she has, a 2-year-old boy, I think. She says, we have a finite reserve of energy. Somebody spoke about, time management and energy management. We have a finite reserve of energy. So focus on things that are energy replenishing rather than depleting. It's important to take time out for yourself, whether that's socializing or playing tennis, reading a book, anything that you enjoy, because that is what will bring your energy levels up. Okay, so we are talking about work-life harmony, work-life integration, not balance in this situation, right? When we did a survey to ask people what are the challenges that you have with work-life balance or not having adequate work-life balance, one of the things they said was that energy levels dip. And it's not that, energy levels dip at a particular, time on it every day. Like in my case, when I used to work in my corporate life, by 3 o'clock, I knew my energy level would be low and I needed to have my chai. So we would all, get together and go down to the chai wala, and he knew exactly that at 3, this person will come, this group will come, and he would know our preferences of chai. We would all take it and spend about 15 minutes chit-chatting and go back. And that was good enough for me to, get my energy back. But this is not that, right? The survey says that through the day, at different points in time, the energy levels are dipping. And the reason for that is because you have not given yourself time to do something that you're so very passionate about. That's something which will revive your energy. So even if it is 10 minutes, even if it is 20 minutes on a daily basis, and maybe over the weekend you can say, okay, I'll do 1 hour or something, right? You've got to do that. However cramped your day is, this is something which is extremely important and should have a high priority in your list, because the minute you spend that 20 minutes re-energizing yourself with whatever you really want to do, you see that the rest of the day will go great. And supposing you have decided that the me time will be when I come back from work at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, the whole day you'll be looking forward to that. And hence the morning kind of goes off well. And once you have kind of taken that me time, the rest of the day also goes well because you've got what you wanted, right? So that is why it is so, so very important. And I will give you another small story from my own life. Some 15 years ago, I suddenly started gaining weight, okay? I gained about 10 kgs in 1 year. And nothing had changed for me. It was the same kind of, eating habits. So I had not, changed my eating habits. And I generally lead a sedentary life, which means, I'm IT professional, right? Always in front of the laptop and you're working. So I'm not really an active fitness kind of a person, but nothing changed. But, every month there used to be 1 kilo added. So at the end of the year, I decided I need to do something about it. And I thought the easiest, simplest thing is walk. And I said, now I have a schedule which is 5 a.m. in the morning. I wake up and goes on till 11 p.m. in the night. And my daughter was much younger then, so you kind of a lot more responsibilities. So I said I will get up at 4:30 in the morning to walk. At 4:30 in the morning, you can't step out of the house. So we invested in a treadmill and we brought it home. And 4:30 alarm would ring, get up, freshen up, and get onto the treadmill for half an hour. I did this for 2 months and then looked at the weighing scale. I had gone up by 2 kgs. Okay. So I continued this for another 6 months and it didn't help. The weight didn't come down for sure. So then I went to this doctor and I said, what is happening? And she asked me about this and that. She also asked me to do a diet chart. That is why, writing down every small bit is very important. When somebody asks you to do a diet chart, they will ask you to write down, this little bit of biscuit that you had and a little bit of apple piece that you had and everything. And suddenly it will, strike you that, my God, I'm consuming some calories which were not needed. Why am I, binging on these cream biscuits in the evening every day? Similarly, when when we do our prioritization and we write down our schedules, we will have those things which will pop up to say, why am I spending time on this? This is just not required. Okay, coming back to my weight story, right? She just could not figure out what was going wrong. Finally, she asked me, about my schedule, and I said, this is what it is. And I'm waking up at 4:30 to do this walk. And she said, that is the killer. She said, your body knows on a daily basis how much of energy it needs to keep you going for the whole day because you have a routine. Now you are bringing additional half an hour of strenuous work that the body has to do. So it is conserving the energy so that it can keep you going for that half an hour extra. And, and when it starts conserving the energy, that is when you're putting on the weight. And she told me, you stop this all walking stuff, go back to getting up at 5 o'clock or whatever that routine was, but ensure that you will have half an hour every day doing nothing, right? Now, that could be me time, but that's how she explained it to me, doing nothing. And I, being a workaholic, like we had someone who told us, I said, I can't. Even if I get 5 minutes, I used to either clean the window, do this, do that. I can't just sit doing nothing. And she said, you will for half an hour do nothing. So I decided doing nothing is tough. So I kind of started watching, some serial on TV. But that is the essence here. You do need that me time for your fitness to re-energize yourself so that you can give back to your family and to your work. So sleep, nutrition, exercise, vacations, everything is absolutely important. Don't push them out of your list just because something else came up, which you believe is higher priority or more urgent. Now, how's your mindset? I'm sure you have seen this, right? You're trying to do something for yourself and people around you are going to tell you, you didn't do this for me. So here is a case where, the kid got asked whether, needs a sandwich, said no. And then, saying, hey, you didn't make one for me. So that's how people are going to make you feel. What is it? You're taking a nap or you're going off for exercise, you're going for a walk, you are, watching a serial, you're reading a book. And there are so many more things to be done. You're spending half an hour of precious time on that, but don't care. Right? I'm saying it, don't care. Because if you want this engine, which is your own body, to run for a long period of time and run in a fit manner, it needs that me time. So don't compromise on that. So what do we do in the COVID-19 times? You have got to keep yourselves motivated. So find those, ways and occasions during the day, during the week, which will kind of motivate you. And it could be anything, right? There is, even a picture of, a nice bath in the jacuzzi or whatever. It could be whatever it is for you. But ensure that you have it fitted in your daily routine, especially in today's scenario. Keep your deadlines short. Don't take on massive, long projects and, kind of say, oh, I don't have time for anything. Break it down into smaller, shorter things so that you're able to finish it and then think of a 10-minute break or a 5-minute break. Sometimes even at work, because it becomes monotonous, you could ask for a more interesting project to keep you going. Right? So it's not always, the me time doesn't necessarily always have to be, okay, fine, something outside of work. Even at work, sometimes you can say, hey, I want to do this digital marketing project, which is not what I do in my day job. Can I, put my hand on? And that kind of becomes interesting and you kind of look forward to it. Definitely unplug after work. And in today's world, set reminders and alarms for breaks and meal times. Because the day continues, you're at home, right? So the day will continue from morning till night, and you won't realize that, hey, I skipped a meal, or there was a break time, or I had to really go and re-energize myself. I needed some fresh air. So put some alarms, so that you can get reminded that now is the time to go and do something that you're passionate about. But more important, communicate one to your team and your manager if you're working, that at this point in time, every day, I am going to take a break, right? Because nobody is seeing you. Like I used to say at 3 o'clock, we went out for chai. People will, not see us around and realize that, okay, they must have gone for a break. Here, if 3 p.m. is when you want to kind of, take that break, please tell the whole world that don't call me at 3 p.m. because this is my break time. And I will come back in 15 minutes and then we can get on to whatever discussion that we want to. So tell everyone so that you get that peaceful 15 minutes for yourselves. And also tell people at home. Tell people at home that when you are working, you should not be disturbed. You don't have to go and, hide in the laundry like that lady. When you're working, you're working. And these are your work hours. So if you had been at office, how would the people at home have managed, right? So find some mechanism to manage, small things by themselves. And tell people that this is my me time, this is my break time, and take that very, very important. Any questions before we move on to the next tip? Swati, yes, please. Do you want to put it in the chat? I'll try to look at the chat. Not able to kind of. Okay, there is chat. Yeah, Swati, tell it. Swati, are you going to put it on the chat?
Should I, ma'am, give her...
What is me time? Tell me, Shrishti.
Okay, ma'am, if Swati cannot ask the question, can I just open the forum for her?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah.
So let me just see view options.
Rinku, why does me time take a backseat always, especially for women? I just now spoke about it. Because in your priority list, you have never prioritized me time. If you had put in your top 5 priorities, me time, health, reading time, or whatever that is, as one of your priorities, then it will not take a backseat, because when you plan and schedule, you will put it into your schedule. So you will always have time for that.
Sure. So, ma'am, I am unmuting Swati. Let me see if she can. Swati, can you hear us? Hi, Swati.
Yes, I can hear you guys. Yeah. Hi, all. So I have a small question. I might have joined a little late. This might have been addressed. I'm not sure. But as you just said that when we are working from home, we should fix our work timings, and our family should actually manage the way when we are away. But during this COVID-19 times, we do not have the proper helps which we used to have. Suppose I have a 1-year-old kid, and I used to have a full-time nanny for her, which is not there now. So there's no one to look after him. So how do I manage this now?
Absolutely. So we will have a slide later where I'm saying seek support. And if you are okay to kind of wait for this discussion at that point in time, we will, but definitely there is a slide, which talks about how we need to seek support, and we can talk about the challenges at that point in time. Is that okay, Swati?
Can you hear us, Swati? Hello. I think, she is unmute. Swati, can you hear us?
Yes. Okay, fine. She says yes. Good. Okay. Thank you, Swati. So when we discuss, you can then bring out this question again. Srividya, I will probably run through the slides again at the end. so that you kind of see what you have missed. If no more questions, then I will move on to the next thing on the next tip. The biggest one for women, guilt, right? Be guilt-free. Now, this is someone that I really, really admire, Apurva Purohit. And I would suggest for those of you who have not read her books, please go and read. She's written 2 books. She is not an author by profession. She is the president of Jagran Group, which is a media house. But she wrote 2 books because she wanted to kind of give some pieces of advice to women. The first one is called Lady, You're Not a Man. And the second one, more recent one, is Lady, You Are the Boss. I have read Lady, You Are the Boss, and it is a fantastic book. So please do read her. She says you can't and you don't need to be perfect in everything you do. Be outstanding in specific areas instead of mediocre in all. So make that very, very clear into your head. I have made it very clear in my head, right? So if you were to ask anybody around me, I'm hopeless at cooking. I've been married for 25 years. Not that it signifies anything in terms of you should be good or not at cooking, but I just have not prioritized that as something where I want to focus my energies and learn and get good at and get outstanding at. I can cook to survive. And in these days when my cook is not coming, between me and my mother and of course Neha, my daughter who helps out, I do something. But I don't care if the rest of the world is telling me that, you know, what have you cooked? It's not at all tasty, or it's not great, you don't bring in variety. It just is not something that I want to focus my energies on. So similarly for each of you, please figure out where is it that you want to be outstanding. You cannot be outstanding in everything, correct? And the ones which you've decided it's okay to be mediocre or it's okay to be hopeless like me in certain things, become guilt-free for those. Does not matter whoever says whatever. You have decided this is not what you want to focus. That doesn't mean that, you know, people at home are not getting food. They are. I figured out a way to kind of ensure that there is nutritious and variety of, you know, a food that does, you know, get to the family. So that's something that you have to do, but it doesn't have to be that you have to keep at it. That's something that I will definitely say, let go of certain things and do not regret. And let me kind of, you know, give you some examples from my life. So, you know, of course, I've gone through 25 years of marriage and 18 years of my child, right? When many years ago, when I was more junior and my daughter was much younger, there was a panel discussion that I was moderating on Women's Day, and these were all very senior women leaders. And I asked them, this used to bother me a lot. So I asked them, if your child does not get the marks that you wanted the child to get in the test, the school test or exam, won't you feel guilty? Won't you think that, okay, maybe, you know, if I had spent more time with the child, teaching the child or being around with the child the day prior to the test, instead of going for that meeting that I went away for, maybe the marks would have been better. Do you ever feel such guilt? And she said, Nirja, what is the guarantee that if I had been with my child, the child would have scored more? For all you know, she might have scored much lesser. Right? And that was eye-opening. Why do we think that it is only we who can do everything fine? There's another role model I have, Pankajam Sridevi, who's the ex-MD of ANZ, and now she is the managing director of the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. She says, why do we think we can only brush our children's teeth better? Why can't the husband do it? We can only tie the shoes of the child, and nobody else can do it. So if you have some time, go and read one article that I have written. You can Google and you'll find it, or you'll find it on my LinkedIn also, which is called Letting Go is the Most Difficult Asana. Please become guilt-free. Let go, don't regret, and don't, kind of let the guilt kill you. So, Indra Nooyi, if you followed her and read her videos and seen her videos and read what she has spoken about, this won't be new to you. But for those of you who have not followed her, so in her daughter's school, there used to be Wednesday mornings when all the mothers would meet up, okay? And every mother would maybe make some cookie or something like that and, and take it to the school. Indra Nooyi, of course, sent the cookies every Wednesday, but she could never be there in the, school. And Wednesday evenings, the girl would come and tell, oh, Ma, you never came, and, all other mothers were there. Now, how does Indra Nooyi cope with this? She called the school and she said, you have to tell me every Wednesday which mother did not come. So the next Wednesday, when the child came and said, Ma, you didn't come, Indra Nui, gave out the list of other names of mothers who had not showed up on that Wednesday. So this is a way to kind of cope with the guilt, to say that I am not alone. My own, another example. And my daughter was much younger. In schools, the last day of school, they'll have this class party where every child will bring some, khana, and then all will sit down together and eat. So, and you can imagine I'm talking about me. And Sneha came and she said, Ma, everyone's bringing something, and I've said that you will make pasta for us. And I said, so what are people bringing? And she said, this one's mother is going to bake a cake, that one's mother is going to make juice and something. So you are making pasta. Now, for me, it was the biggest task. But I said, no, let me do it, because I was feeling guilty, right? Every other mother is doing it for their child. And if I don't do what people think, then I'm a bad mother and things like that. So I sat down that evening, made some preparation. Next morning, got up early, did, and sent this pasta for the 40-odd kids in the class. Evening, I come back from work and I said, okay, Sneha, how was party? And, what did people send? And she said, XYZ's mother just bought a cake and sent. She didn't bake. Somebody else's mother, sent 2 bottles of, some rasna or whatever, not something that is readily available, you can buy off the shelf. And many of the mothers gave some money to the kids and said, go to the canteen and buy the stuff and share. And here I was sitting and, trying to make the pasta only because I didn't want to feel guilty. So, and that was the first and the last time that I ever did. After that, I would have said, go figure it out yourselves. I can give you multiple examples, small things which we take on ourselves because of the guilt, either that we feel for ourselves or because the rest of the world makes us feel. If you want to get over and get some time for yourself and for the priority items, the first thing is let go of certain things and let go of the guilt, and do not ever regret. The only mantra to keep in mind is, what are those things where I want to be outstanding, and I will focus on it. And I don't have to be perfect. I have to say no to certain things and move on. So this is something which most women struggle with. Okay. So how's your mindset? This is what you got to tell yourselves. Today, I am giving myself permission to have a little me time, so I can be the best wife, mom, friend, and woman I can possibly be, and I will not feel guilty about it. Okay, so it is important that you give yourselves the permission so that you can be better than who you are today. And please stop feeling guilty that you took a little bit of me time. Because at the end of the day, you want to become the best of yourselves and the best of all the relationships that you want to take care of. Now, what happens in today's times, right? This picture, what is it trying to say? It's saying that I am not a virus. When everyone is coming and telling you, oh, what? You've kind of, not cleaned the table today. There's so much of dust on the table and still you've decided to take that conference call. You've decided only to cook one large meal and, not give us some variety at the end of the day. You are also a human being. You're not a virus, right? So whatever is happening around you will affect you also. And hence, it is perfectly fine for you to kind of not feel guilty about having let go a few things. As I said, could be the sweeping and mopping, could be the cooking, could be the whatever in today's times. Because this is not going to last forever. I am an optimist. Things will change. You will get back into, a better condition from where it is today. But if you do not take care of yourselves now, if you do not, get rid of the guilt and, let go of a few things and focus on the most important things, then when times open up, you will still be struggling. So very, very important. And some of the tips that I would give is, one is separate the workspace. When you're working, you are in a room or you are in a corner. Some of us probably would have had the opportunity to kind of have a dedicated workspace for ourselves, but find a corner where it is work. That means when you go and sit over there, everyone knows you are working. And I definitely, acknowledge the fact, with Swati saying that when you have very young kids who may not even understand that, in fact, they'll love it that, they're seeing their mother more than, whoever else was going to care for them. But we'll talk about that. But otherwise, in general, ensure that there is a spot for you which is designated as workspace, and hence people don't come and trouble you. Ensure you have all the tools to remain connected with your office work, with whoever else you want to, and you are able to collaborate well. And ensure that you have a workable, practical schedule. And all of this will enable you to kind of overcome the guilt. Say, oh my God, I missed, taking a call because somebody else was doing this, or I went and did this. Today technology is there to give us alarms to say, okay, this 15 minutes, I will take a break and this 15 minutes is over. So let me come back and, start responding to emails or something like that. But please become guilt-free by letting go and not regretting. Any questions, or should we move on and take questions towards the end?
We will take the questions towards the end, ma'am. There is one question from Sri Vidya.
Yeah.
She's saying that sometimes other examples are quoted, maybe from within the family or friends, saying that she has done this and is apparently happy. So you follow a similar path rather than a different path, one as you all have to compromise otherwise. So, Srividya, can I just open the forum for you, and do you want to ask, ma'am? Because somehow I think, there is a typo and, it's... Yeah, or should we just ask this question, take this question towards the end, ma'am?
That's okay. So what I'm getting out of it is, people will give you examples of everybody else to say, okay, fine, she is able to do X, Y, Z. She also cooks, she also cleans, she also does, a great job at work, and she looks after the baby and everything else. Well, I am not like that, right? I gave you my own example to say that I don't cook, and I would have had enough and more people telling me, including my mom and, husband and child and everybody else around me, that how much I would have heard, when Sneha was in school, for majority of the time, her dabba would be curd rice and some vegetables. And she would come and tell me that, this one, Vidhi brought this chana, and that one brought this curry, and this and that, and all of that.
Yeah.
It can't, you have decided. As long as you're giving nutritious meat. I was sending some vegetable with her for her dabba, and I knew the nutrition aspect was taken care of. But it's okay. And at that point in time, maybe she was much younger, but as I saw that she will realize and understand a bit when I tell her why her dabba is like this, maybe because, the other mothers, and I'm not saying that, the ones who are homemakers have got much more time than, the ones who work, but definitely the kind of work that I was doing, I never had the time to kind of, or I didn't give it priority and say, I'm going to take 2 hours of my morning to actually sit and cook some, fantastic meal. As long as it was healthy, nutritious, it's good enough. So you have to first accept it yourself that this is good enough for the family. If you feel it's not good enough, then of course you have to think of a different thing. But if you feel it's good enough, forget the rest of the world and please respond to the person politely that you are doing what is required. Wants and needs are very different. And if somebody else is doing it, let them do it. Maybe I will try to do it once a week, once a month, whatever that aspect is, but it's not going to happen every day.
Right. Because sometimes, they may just compare or give other examples and make us feel like as if, it's a compromise or something which we are doing.
Yeah. So it's for you to kind of, figure out whether it is a compromise or it is, because of the right kind of, thoughts you've had. Because this is not your priority list. You're focusing on other things, on a larger picture. And that is getting, as I said, in this case, I was giving an example of a meal. As long as there's nutrition supplied in the house, it's enough. Doesn't matter whether you cook or, you cook a variety or, you look at all possible cuisines. So that's the way you look at it.
Sure, ma'am. Okay. So let's...
Yeah, so I'll move on to the next... and this is where we will talk, Swati. This is absolutely important and not in the current situation only. Always seek support. So again, talking about Indranui, she says, and she's the mother of, 2 girls, 35 and 26 years. Every day you have to make a decision about whether you're going to be a wife or a mother. In fact, many times during the day, you have to make those decisions. And you have to co-opt a lot of people to help you, correct? And the story that goes here along with this quote is that her younger child, I think, used to call every evening after the child has come back from school, and Indra Nooyi's secretary would pick up the call, and the child would want permission to play a particular game. And the secretary would have a list of questions to ask the child, to say, have you done this? Have you done your homework? Have you eaten? Whatever the stuff that mothers ask. And based on the child's responses, the secretary would then give permission to play or not. And then she would come back and narrate this to Indra Nooyi to say that, hey, today, the child did 8 out of 10, and I have still gone ahead and given her permission because she's done the, big ticket items, or she's done 5 out of 10, and hence I said no to, today. So she says you have to cooperate with a lot of people to help you to get things done. It could be at home, it could be at work. So very, very important that you ask for help from your peers, your mentors, your family, your friends, right? I used to, even the same Women's Day panel discussion, there was a lady who said that every Saturday morning used to be her date with her husband, which meant that the young child that they had, they would get somebody to look after that child, and the husband and wife go out and, have a meal and come back. So this is how they wanted, to ensure that they get their me time between the husband and wife. Because once the kid is born, and how, what is the amount of time you get, the couple gets. So you may be wanting to go to a movie, and you have this child, so you kind of ask your neighbor, can you, babysit my child? Because husband and wife want to go for a movie. And ensure you return the favor. Come back and tell her the movie was great, and next week why don't you go and I will look after your kid or dog or whatever else that needs to be done for them. So it's perfectly fine to take help from people within your family, in your office, because the minute you start telling people in your office is where people understand, okay, fine, you need support here. Like for me, because I worked nonstop for 25 years, for me, I just didn't realize women who have taken a career break, what are the struggles they undergo to restart their careers? Because I never had that empathy, because I've never taken a break. But the minute I had some women come to me and talk about it, I realized it was an eye-opener for me. And I said, okay, I'm going to mentor them and, see what else can I do to kind of provide them the required support to restart their careers. So sometimes talking about it at work in the right way, by not becoming a victim or, crying about it, but kind of putting on the facts will help you. And people will say, okay, fine, we'll support you in this way, or, we'll give you this, what is required. Some other examples are, when you want to, especially in the current situation, if people at home are not willing to kind of help you with cleaning and mopping, try to make it a game. If you've got younger kids, then, try to make it a game to say, hey, who cleans faster, or who's going to do this today? Or for other people who are fitness freaks, or, you're saying you need exercise, try to make it sound like an exercise routine regimen every day. Now, you kind of, doing this and you're also getting your exercise. So it is important that you seek support. And again, talking about women, I'm sorry, I know there's a diverse crowd here, but this is mainly targeted towards women, but for others also. Women are not super women. Nobody is a super person. You have to reach out for the required support, go for it, and see, how you can integrate your work and life. And at this point in time, Swati, I would definitely like to take your question. You have a 1-year-old. I don't know who else is there at home with you. Maybe you had a nanny because there was no one else. But if there is someone, like your husband is there now, and I don't know if your in-laws or your parents or somebody else is there who could possibly help out, then you should ask for that help, and not 24/7. I know the nanny could could have probably looked after the child for, longer hours, but at least for, you kind of divide it to say, okay, fine, 2 hours, I think you should ask your husband in the day, take care of the baby, and, you can do things that you really want to do. So that is a conversation that you must have. You have. I mean, I did it, right? In these days, because I don't have the maid coming and the cook coming. After a few days, when I started realizing that, people at home are probably not empathetic or, not realizing, I mean, things are getting done and hence they're happy. I kind of put it up to say that, hey, you know what, I'm doing 10 things on a daily basis, which includes, the daily office work. And I need help. And I said that even though I've been married for 25 years, I had to say, I need help. And I want you to, kind of give a helping hand in whichever way you can. If you can put the clothes in the washing machine and take it out, that is also help for me. If you can clean the dishes, that is also help for me. So you need to ask, and ask in a nice way, strategize and, put it across in such a way that people understand and come forward to help. But you've got to do that. I'm happy to, kind of take that discussion at this point in time, Swati, if the answer has not been good enough, because I don't know your personal situation. Swati coming on chat or being unmuted?
Ma'am, I cannot see Swati right now. Let me just check it once more.
No problem. I'm sure if she's heard us, then, she will.
Yeah, Swati is basically, I think, logged out or something. She was there.
Maybe. Not a problem.
Sure.
The other thing, you could probably tell her that she could reach out to me, via LinkedIn or something, and, I can definitely, speak to her later if, at this point in time she was not here. That's a very valid question. And for those of us who have overcome this situation, those of us who are yet to reach this situation, you have to keep all of this in mind and ensure that you build a culture of, seeking support. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Nobody is going to look down upon you. And if somebody says, hey, the other person was able to do without support, let it be. I need support and I'm going to, ask for support, and I'm going to take the support which is, being offered to me. That's what, you kind of have to say. So how's your mindset today? And this is what I was trying to say. The minute you kind of share responsibilities, be it in the office, you start speaking about it, and somebody says, oh my God, you've got so many things going. Let me take a piece of, or something that you have to do and, get it done for you. It could be as simple as, this, I'm telling you about this webinar, right? My laptop usually goes off to sleep when I'm on Zoom. So I did not want to do this, session on my laptop. So I have had to borrow Sneha's laptop, my daughter's laptop. And, I had to, get some printouts done. So I kind of, ran and, asked my husband to, get me some printouts. So it's okay. It's perfectly fine. Everybody kind of feels part of this, whether they like it or not. This is my webinar, but it doesn't matter. Everyone has to kind of help out to ensure that this webinar goes fine. So one is you seek support, you ask for help. Two, the rest of the people also feel part of that, and kind of either willingly, unwillingly, but, they will do it for you. And when you celebrate it, if the webinar has been a success, I will go and talk about it to say, you know what, this was a great success and thank you. It's because you gave me a laptop. Thank you because you gave me a printout. Most of the times we forget the appreciation piece, right? We keep asking people to do. We complain because they don't clean dishes the way we want it to be. They have not done, the clothes the way we want. They're not folded it the way we want it to be folded. No wonder they are not going to help you, right? At home, for sure. Similarly, at office also, you can't always be complaining. You have to have a strategy. You have to have a way to communicate, to say, hey, maybe this could have been done differently in a nice way. And please don't forget the Thanksgiving. Please don't forget to appreciate, to say that I was able to do this customer call brilliantly, which has converted into an order for us just because you helped out with the cooking, or you helped out with the dishes, or you looked after the child for an hour. So the minute you start conversations, in this way, you'll see the kind of support that comes to you. And
so, ma'am, we have Bharti. She's saying that she completely agree with you on, seeking help and, how to get your work done. So
thank you, Bharti. Thank you, Bharti. So this is the situation for majority of us, right? And it is hard. It is very, very hard. But you can only make it better that you want that help. Because in the regular routine, Priyadarshini, I'll just come to you. In the regular routine, one is, life is going on well. And sometimes if they had tried to help you, you'd have said, hey, I don't want you to do this because you're not doing it the way I want. Right? Just like Pankajam said, we think only we can brush the teeth properly. Well, if the person is not brushing the child's teeth the way you want, after 3, 4, 5 attempts, it will become all right. Because the father is also brushing his own teeth, right? So he's not going to not know that job. And even if you're trying to get the person to do a job that he's probably never done, give him a little bit of time or give her a little bit of time to say, okay, get better at it. You have to ask, you have to kind of, be patient and take whatever help comes. Even if, it helps you to get 10 minutes in a day, it is important. Yes, Priyadarshini.
Priyadarshini does not have a audio button next to her profile.
Okay, she can write it on the chat window.
Yes. Priyadarshini, if you have any question, please write down. I cannot unmute you because there is no option there. I think it may be because of mistake also.
Okay, fine. If she has something, then we will read that. Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll move on to, something else.
Ma'am, should we start the one-on-one right now or afterwards, right?
I know it's 4:30. I will quickly just give one tool, which I thought, people can use.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Move forward. Try. Yeah. So this is what, is called as an Eisenhower matrix, where you bucket your tasks into urgent, not urgent, important, not important. And you will see that your tasks will either sit in quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. And it kind of gives you, what is it that you're supposed to do. If your tasks are falling in quadrant 1, that is because it is extremely urgent and it is extremely important. And these are tasks which are usually associated with crisis management, because there is no way out. You have to just do it. And these are more reactive kind of, situations. You have to reduce the time spent in this quadrant because you're not going to get the best productivity and the best kind of outcomes by being in this. And it's going to take away all your energies because you're stressed out. So when does, something become urgent? It is because you have not planned. So from the important, not urgent quadrant, if you had scheduled stuff, if you had thought about the future, you had, looked at your goals, and it needs a lot of proactiveness, right? You don't keep waiting for things to happen. You're going to think, you're going to look at the future, you will have a vision, you'll have a goal. So it needs some kind of time that you're going to spend. And if you start scheduling things and then start working on it and, delivering it, then chances are that majority of the tasks will not slip into quadrant 1. So best is for you to keep yourself in quadrant 2 and plan and execute it. Now, the ones which are in quadrant 3, which is they're urgent, but they're not important for you, start delegating it. In your office, you delegate it to kind of, people. At home, you start delegating it. Like I was saying, the cleaning of the house, is urgent. But for you, it's not very important. Somebody else can think that I only have to do. So for me, that is, definitely urgent, important, depending on, whether I have planned for it. If I had planned for it, then I would have had the deck ready by this day. If I had not planned for it, then, 1 hour before the presentation, I would be in quadrant 1 trying to get some, deck ready. But if I have to compare that with, say something else, like cleaning the house or dusting the house, I can always delegate it because that is urgent, of course, maybe because it is very dusty in the house today, but it's not important for me. And quadrant 4 is where not urgent, not important tasks are there. This is something that doesn't need to be done at all. So you have to learn to say no to these and declutter your work. So this is a great tool, and it will, of course, again need some amount of, time that you need to spend. But please, it is worth spending that time. And the last thing that I will say is evaluate work-life balance, work-life integration on a continuous basis. At the moment, it is on a daily basis because That's how we are. Once things are better off, then, on a 3 months, 6 months, whatever is the right basis. When you're starting off newly, first time you're doing your, priority list and scheduling, maybe you want to review it weekly. When you get better at it, maybe once a month. But it is a continuous process. Like Sheena Mohri says, that at different junctures in time, you will need to make choices based on your current priorities, which will keep changing. This choice will be the right thing to do, one that will drive the happiness of your ecosystem. At some point, your career will take precedence. At others, your family will. You get to decide what is important. Nobody else decides it for you. You get to decide what is important for you at every stage of your life, and then treat that as your priority. So Sheena Mohri, a good friend of mine, has a 20-plus-year-old son. So always be realistic in your expectation setting. Don't go overboard just because somebody else is doing something and you feel that people will kind of compare you. It is your life. It is your work. It is your set of priorities. And hence, you're going to create the work-life integration for you. And the last bit, before I can start taking questions, Srishti, and I also want everyone to do this, the first activity we did, which was about what did we do? What is the definition of work-life balance? What are the current challenges and what are the struggles that we've had in trying to implement some of the things? Even if you can write down one thing that you are going to put into action after this session to get a better work-life integration. It could be something that you will start doing, something that you will stop doing, or something that you're going to do differently. Even if you can write one thing, because as I said, if we don't do it during this session, the minute we are out at 5, we'll have other stuff to do and this will never get done. So those of you who want to start, thinking and putting that 1 to whatever number of actions, please start doing that. Those who want to ask questions can please start asking questions.
I would request everyone who has question to raise their hand or write down on the chat box, and I can just open the forum for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any questions anyone wants to ask, say, or if you're taking a few minutes to do your action planning, I really welcome all of you to please do that.
Ma'am, Srividya is asking the first 2 tips, please.
Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, let me go back to that. Vidya, the first one is setting your priorities. And for anybody else who missed it out. And the way to set priorities is there should be only one item at every priority number, and start thinking about if there is only one thing that you can do in your life, then what would that be, which becomes your priority 1. And then repeat that question for 2, 3, 4, 5. Not more than 5 priorities. 3 to 5 is the best. And the second one is plan your days and weeks, which means that from your priority list, you have to kind of prepare a schedule, like a project manager, to say these are the tasks, this is the estimate for each, and big, small, whatever it is, put it into your calendar, just like Pavitra Singh here is saying. And don't have 2 calendars, one for your personal and one for your professional life. Everything is in one calendar. Calendarize it. so that you know when you're going to do what, and if at all you need to kind of pull out something, you know which is the least priority item or which is the one which is going to not be so damaging. You can always do it, you know, in the next week or next day and push something inside. And be very, very respectful of your schedule. If you feel that the other work which is coming in is not really urgent, the 4 quadrants that we spoke about, then you please respectfully tell the other person, I'm not going to do this now because at this point in time is my me time, which could be exercise, which could be reading, which could be whatever. So these are the 2 tips that, you know, I kind of said.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. Ma'am, we have Rinku. She wants to ask a question. So let me just unmute her.
Yeah, sure.
Rinku, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Nitra ma'am. Definitely very insightful session. I always have one question that I, struggle to understand. A father never feels that guilt feeling when he or, he is unable to attend to his child's school or other activities. Why does a mother always feel so? And I personally feel that a lot when I'm not able to attend to my son's school activities or parent-teacher meeting. And then you always have him, asking you that why couldn't you make it because of work? So how do you address that?
So I think it goes back to the discussion between, the couple to decide who's going to take care of what. So in my case, I know that I kind of took the responsibility of school on myself. Not to say that my husband, wouldn't kind of, when I say school, it means, what is it that the school is teaching? What is the homework? What is the exam schedule? And do I have to be around the exams and, ask her questions and all of that? And hence, because I kind of volunteered and I wanted to do it, my husband didn't need to, and he never ever in the 10 years of school, 13 years of school she did, and the 2 years of the university that she has done, ever kind of came and said, do you need any help? Unless Sneha herself felt the need to go and ask her dad, because as she was growing up, I'm hopeless at physics, and if there was something that she wanted on physics, she would go and ask my husband. Otherwise, because it was I who took on that responsibility, and hence I always turned up for the PTMs. And if I couldn't, then I would tell my husband that no, this week I can't, and I would let my husband go. And it is for you to feel that it's okay. You have sent somebody else.
That's the struggle. Yeah, that's the struggle, because my husband takes the charge. He does everything. I mean, trust me, he's more available for my son than me because of work constraints. But I always have that guilt feeling.
No, you should not, because there is somebody who's taking care. At the end of the day, everybody can't do everything. So you probably are doing something else for the child, and your husband is doing something else, and holistically the child is getting the attention and the care of both the parents. And if you feel that you want to kind of also be clued into what is happening in school, then you ensure that your husband gives you that information so that you also feel as much knowledgeable as your husband is, because he probably is kind of stepping in. At the same time, with Sneha, my husband used to go and pick her up from school every day. We kind of decided that we didn't want her to be, coming through a school bus, which will go all over town and, bring her back at 5 in the evening after the school is finished at 3:30. So I was working in a corporate setup, so there was no way I could have stepped out at 3:30 to pick her up. But my husband, is on his own. So there was no one to question him. He would stop anything and everything to ensure he is there at school at 3:30, which meant that he would say no to client meetings. He would, reschedule things, come what may. So that is what he did towards, Sneha's schooling, which is also a big thing, right? So, and I can feel, and he used to tell me that most of the times when he would be waiting for Sneha to come out, it would be mothers who would be there. You wouldn't see too many fathers that pick up. The mothers would, come together, have this chit chat and all of that, and they probably know more about school than, anybody else. And he couldn't participate in those discussions, and he would come and tell me, you know what, I think you should go once in a while to be part of that group, and, kind of will help you in some ways. But I never felt guilty about it. I said, it's okay. If I'm missing out on some piece of information, if it is relevant and if it is important, it will come to me, right? That's about it. somehow. Either the teacher will tell me because it's so important, or Sneha herself will tell me, or there will be some parent who will call me, even if it's just to make me feel guilty. Hey, Nita, you didn't come, but this is what you missed. It's perfectly fine. I know that for me, 3:30 is not, a time that I can step out of work because work was important for me. As long as she's being taken care by somebody else. So you have to kind of convince yourselves that the best is happening to the child. It doesn't mean that you have to be the person who's giving the best to the child. That is something that you have to kind of convince yourself.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So, ma'am, we have Tasneem now. She wants to know the quote that you used. So let me just unmute her. Tasneem, can you hear us? Would you like to take the question yourself?
Yes.
Sure. Go ahead. Tasneem, we can't. Okay, 1 second. It's not. Ma'am, I think.
Hello.
Okay. Hi, Tasneem, can you repeat the question? We lost you.
Yeah, so that's the quote, if that is what she was referring to.
Hmm.
Whatever a person frequently thinks and reflects on, that will become the inclination of their mind. And hence, it is important that you have positive thoughts about anything and everything in life.
Yeah, could you just give me a feedback on
Feedback on?
Yeah, Tasneem, you are just unmuting. It's going on, I don't know. There's some issue at her end. It just unmutes on her, it gets muted on her own.
I see.
Hello.
Now I have unmuted again. Can you repeat your question, Tasneem?
Yes, I would like Nirija to just give me a short discussion on this quote. How is it a tip, or how where it could help me in my
so basically
work-life balance?
Yeah, the reason I put this in is I can give you a lot of yarn, right? Every session that you may be attending that COLLEARN is organizing, other than technical sessions, generally, things, life skills is what we're trying to say these are, right?
Yes.
People can give you yarn. Unless and until you change your mindset to say, okay, fine, maybe I should try this, it's not going to help you. And that's why I insisted that you do this action planning right now. Okay. And what this quote is, whoever said this is, whatever a person frequently thinks and reflects on. So if I'm coming to this session saying, okay, fine, she told me do prioritization, she told me do scheduling, and she tells me that, take support. How does she know anything about my situation? Things are not going to change. But if you think and reflect on the stuff that I have said and say, okay, let me try it. Okay. And you're frequently thinking about it. I have to prioritize today. Day 2, you again think, I have to prioritize today. Day 3, you think, I have to have the conversation to say, I need help here. That becomes your mindset over a period of time. The negativity goes away, and there is, more positivity that comes in to say, let me try. And the trying is what will, get you to real action, and hence you will see the outcomes. The mind is just in your, it's in your hands. It doesn't do things of its own. It's about, what you make it do. So if you start making it do the things that you want, for example, I don't want to feel guilty, so I will not bother about whoever comes and tells me X, Y, Z. You keep telling your mind, it's okay for me. I didn't want to do it. It's okay for me. Let whoever say whatever. Automatically, the guilt will go away. Just like, I don't know the name of the person who said, I feel guilty that I am not able to be there at PTM. Train your mind to say it's okay. At the end of the day, what is the outcome that you want? Let's all start looking at the outcome. If the child is getting the outcome that you want, which is that there is somebody who is caring for the child, there is somebody who's checking on the child's activities in school, and the child is progressing well with that care and with that attention, be whoever it be. Like for example, for some people, they are not able to kind of spend time, looking at homework of the kids or, kind of teaching them. They go to tutors. It's perfectly fine. What's the big deal? At the end of the day, the outcome you want to achieve is that the child should score good marks. And if it's an external tutor coming to do it, just like, we have maids. In countries like US and all of that, where, this is not possible, they do it themselves. Why are we not doing it ourselves? Because we have, someone to help us. So it is our mindset to say it is okay. I want the house clean. Doesn't matter who comes and, cleans it. So that mindset is what is going to take you to doing the things that you want to do. That's all I want to say.
Yes. Ma'am, Tasneem cannot be unmuted. Some setting at her end, or
okay, fine. Anybody else?
So, yeah. So she has just written on the chat box saying that. So try to make it a habit. Make your mind remind of the positive thoughts and condition your mind. I mean, that's the takeaway.
Yeah. And how do you condition? It's because you kind of continuously keep thinking about the same and trying to do it. That's the condition.
Yes.
That's how you condition.
Yes. Ma'am, we have Bharti also. I think she's joining us from Dubai. And she says,
okay.
that, one second, we'll just go through the question again. It's just gone from the chat box.
Did I?
It's gone from the chat. Why do I feel guilty about asking for help? Sometimes like it's just my job and I'm not doing it. We are conditioned in that way, but yeah, she wants your.
Yeah, I mean, just like we were talking about the other lady who said she feels guilty that she is not there. I think it's over the years, we've been told or we've seen that a woman does something and a man does something else, right? This is what we have seen. This is how our minds have got conditioned to. And our mindsets are. And hence the guilt comes. But if you start conditioning your mind to say, for me, it's the same mantra, right? What is the outcome that you want to achieve? I want to achieve the outcome of having my family eat nutritious food. I bring in a cook who is, healthy, who is clean, who knows how to cook, and, she kind of, cooks it the way that we want. Nutrition is preserved, variety is there. My outcome is achieved. So I don't really feel guilty at all that I don't do it. So that is what you need to kind of, look at the outcome that you want to achieve. And why is it the outcome is that I want to only achieve nutritious food and I don't want to cook? Because I have got other things which I want to become good at. Which could be, I want to spend more time as Neha was growing up. I wanted to spend the evenings with her to see what's happening in school and, ensure that she kind of. And I have been a very, what should I say, a hands-off mom is what I would say. By the time she came to 5th or 6th, she was on her own in terms of studies. How did that happen? Because from the initial days, whenever I also sat with her, I kind of used to tell her how she should be, studying. How she should kind of, ensure that she repeats, revises, what are the things she has to look at and all of that. So that by the time she came to 6, she was able to manage pretty much everything on her own. So because I wanted to spend the evenings in the earlier years for that, now you may say, okay, you don't have to spend time with your daughter, but I want to spend now my, days kind of trying to mentor others or, taking sessions like this. That's my priority. And hence I have said here, when it comes to food, outcome-based, nutritious food, somebody is able to do it, I'm happy with it. For certain other things, like I didn't go to a tutor for Sneha because that one thing I wanted to keep it with myself. So it's perfectly fine. It's all what you decide. You want to keep it for yourself and look at that outcome. The guilt will go away.
Ma'am, we have Khushbu. Yeah, ma'am, we have Khushbu. She wants to ask the question. So let me just unmute her. Hi, Khushbu.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
So thank you for this wonderful session, ma'am. So, ma'am, I really think that, I have a lot of priorities that I set. And what happens is, I literally can't get down to 5 or 6. And what happens at the end of the day, I see that sometimes I'm not satisfied because I'm not able to do my things. So why is it that I believe there are so many women who also think the same, and why do we, so how do we deal with that, wherein we have a lot of priorities, we see that we have to do this, we have to do that. And second, why do we all women want to be to become a superwoman?
I think it will again probably go back to the conditioning. It also goes back to the family. If you are a family of 3 sisters and one is doing something, then the rest of the world feels that all 3 sisters, all 2 sisters should do the same. If you are 3 daughters-in-law, oh my God, God save you, because then the comparison is with the other 2 daughters-in-law who may be doing a few things differently to you, and then you take it on yourself. I remember, there was this young girl that used to work with me, and she was the second daughter-in-law. She got married, and she said, when the in-laws visited her, she said, in this 1 month, they should go back saying that my khana is much better than that other one's khana. Right? This is what we take it on ourselves. Why the comparison? Right?
Yeah.
When we compare, then the rest of the world, like somebody says, we have been given the gift of guilt from our family.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why we want to be superwomen, because we don't want anybody to, pinpoint and say, hey, you didn't do a good job on something. Go back to Apurva Purohit. What is she saying? You cannot be outstanding in everything. It's perfectly okay. You will be known for that 1 or 2 things that you are absolutely fantastic at. And the rest of the world that they're comparing you with, maybe those people are not fantastic at that. But if they are fantastic at that and also doing 2 other things, congratulate them. It's okay. You congratulate them and say, hey, wonderful. Someday I will come and learn, how you are able to do 4. But today that is not my priority. And that is the problem. It is years of conditioning of people around us, which has gone into us, because it's also the way we are brought up as girls, and we are bringing up our girls and boys. If those of you who have kids, please ensure to change the conditioning in your family so that at least the next generation doesn't have to go through this process of learning how to not be guilty and how to let go and things like that.
Yeah. Correct, ma'am.
Yeah. So I cannot see any other question as of now, ma'am, but I would just like to thank you on behalf of each one of us attending the session today, and on behalf of COLLEARN. Ma'am, the session was really wonderful, and it was really engaging and interactive. So thank you so much for giving us the time. And
thank you. I hope the men who attended the session also had some takeaways. And students, because this was also more in terms of working women students, I hope there were some takeaways, because it is needed in everybody's life, each and every type of, that I have given, if not all, at least 1 or 2. You can see how you kind of implement it in, in your life, in the phase that you are in. And you can always connect with me on LinkedIn, Neerja Ganesh. You will find me if you search for Neerja Ganesh, National Education Society of Karnataka, which is where I work now. And we can please put in a line that I heard you at COLLEARN session, so that I know who you are and we can connect. And if there are further discussions we can have, because I'm a mentor, I'm a coach. If anything more is needed, we can do that.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, COLLEARN, for giving me this opportunity, and good luck.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And you guys, all of them have been really wonderful audience. Thank you so much, everyone.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am. So I will just leave the meeting now for everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.